I hope that you find this video helpful and that you get an understanding from it. I know that a few of you have asked for it, so this is why I'm doing it. So there'll be it's quite lengthy, but there is stages, and I'm going to do the whole from the beginning to the end of the floor. And then you can obviously just go through at certain points and pick up from what you want to learn. So yes, so please, if you do find this helpful, press that like button, subscribe, because it all helps. And yeah, stay posted. So we've hoovered, cleaned the floor, and we've got the area that we're going to tile. First things first, sweep it, hoover it, and obviously everything's going to be different depending on what floor you're using. If you're using underfloor heating, if it's just a concrete floor, if it's gypsum base. So basically any primer that you use, this is Tile-Master, Flex Master, which I'm using. Read the back of it and it will tell you quite simply the ratio. So for this example, we've got a concrete floor and I'm going to use 3:1. Ratio, so I just use an old bottle, cut it down, and then I know it's easy then to gauge one of those, 3 to water, clean water. I'm going to use a roller, which is over there. And I'm not going to put too much primer on. It's quite important, floor and walls, don't go loads of the primer because it can skin and then sometimes it can peel off. You want to just give the floor a primer and then let it soak in to stop the suction from the adhesive and for the adhesive to bond to the floor. So there's no dust as well, etc, etc. So I'm going to do this and then I'll be back to show you how to set out and to lay the anti-friction matting. So while the floor's drying, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the matting. So because we've got large format tiles going down, we need to use an anti-fracture matting. Now we also wanted underfloor heating. Now because of there wasn't enough height in the flat, we want to keep, and also we just want to keep that depth to a minimum. So what I really like using is this anti-fracture. This is durabase. And basically what you can do, I don't know if you can see this, but it's got towers. Now these towers, the wire sits in between the towers. So not only like warm up for old school, you just used to lay the matting down, then self-level it, always used to ping up, it's just a nightmare. And sometimes, you know, you had the chance of catching it. But now what they've done is you can lay this, it's fleeced back, you prime the floor, S2 adhesive, put it down with a 6mm trowel, and then you lay this mat in. I'll use a roller, I'll show you a video. And then what you can do is you can use this as a primary and secondary source of heating. So depending on the towers, for example, if you were to go 3 and then 2 on the way back, then 3, then 2 on the way back, that will give you 100 watts per square metre. If you were to do 3 and 3, so down 3, up 3, down 3, up 3, etc., that'll give you 133. And if you do 4 and 4, that will give you 100 watts. So basically, you can use this as a primary heating source or a secondary heating source. So depending on the width of the towers, gives you what heat you need. So what I'm going to be doing, it's 1 metre wide. So we're going to work out on the floor how many rungs to do. And what you want to try and do is match these up. So when you're laying this side to side, try and match these up because it makes it a lot easier for the install of the wire. Also, don't worry about if adhesive pops through, because once it's dry, it's easier to knock off when it's dry and to get clean than trying to wipe it all, because it just doesn't work. Once the wire's in this system, it's because you can only use, another thing, you can only use a certain wire up to, I think it's 5.5mm thick, I reckon. And then what you do is you're protecting, so when you're troweling, you're not going to ding that wire because it's in between the matting. So, and it saves you self-leveling then just as you lay the tiles, backfill the mat in, and then done. All right. Okay, good little tip. When you've laid the first bit out, I've stuck that half. As you can see, there's a line just about there. So I've made it easy for myself. I've rolled it all the way up, all the way back, around the edges. And you can see there's no adhesive spill, it's 6mm and then I've just cleaned that edge with a sponge all the way into the door. And then what I'm gonna do is then it makes it easier. All I need to do then is just roll this back like so, and then I know that it's not going to go out of place and that I can roll it back to where I've stuck it about there, and then I'll come back this way. So when we're using the anti-fracture matting, they all specify different notch trowels for different reasons. Sometimes the thicker the matting, for example, this is a 6mm. Sometimes if it's just like a fibre, paper mesh, a Mapitex, or there are other brands, Keracol, that I think they're 4mm trowels. So just check before you start laying. And the other thing I was going to say, that you usually put an insulating board down so that the heat doesn't travel down and comes up. Because obviously if you put it onto a wood floor, in this case, the flat and with the side of the ceilings, the customer didn't want to go too thick and is happy that the thickness of the floor, you're not going to lose too much heat. So just take that into consideration. So sometimes you use a wheelie board or cement board. Hardy back is a good one, and it kind of transfers that heat and keeps heat from going down, and you want it coming up onto your feet and onto the tiled floor. Right, so now we're going to lay the wire. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do and then do a time lapse, not to bore you, but this we need to put under a bed of adhesive. So what I should do is cut out the matting very carefully. This is our tail end, and this goes up through the wall and up through to the socket. There'll be a label on which you can test the ohms of the wire to make sure that it's running right. Now what we do then is from there and there, this will go up the wall. So I'm leaving that space to cut that in. And then what you do is you push the wire in between these little lines, and you go up and you go down, okay? That's it for the minute. Right, a little tip. When you do this wire, if you do it with gloves on, you'll burn through the gloves and you burn through your fingers and skin. So you don't want to use anything sharp because obviously you don't want to catch the wire. So get yourself a little paint roller, and then what you can do is that will push the wire in to wherever you want to go. It's hard to do it with a, yeah, look. So you'll feed the wire with one and push it with the, just like that, okay? So I've got my cable stuck up the wall. I've got my, there's two wires there. One goes off that way, one goes the other way. And they're going to go into the same thermostat, and then there will be a sensor in the floor, which I should put in between the wires. It has to be greater than 2 centimeters. So obviously I can come through the middle of these two and then come out here. So I'll show you how to put that in. But there you go, that's the floor down. Nice and tidy. And now, just working out the floor, and I'm going to start the tiling. I hope that you find this video helpful. Press that like button, subscribe, 'cause it all helps, and yeah, stay posted.